Boy, have I got a good biscuit recipe for you today. And it's so simple, I'm almost embarrassed to even call it a recipe. Stick with me and see how with 2 ingredients, we can make some delicious biscuits. Hi, I'm Mary Katherine, and welcome to my table. So excited you're here with me today. I have a biscuit video that you may have already seen where we use 3 simple ingredients to make some delicious buttermilk biscuits. And that is a wonderful recipe. It's probably my favorite recipe. But today, if you want something even simpler, that's what we're going to do now. So jump on in and let's make it. The 2 ingredients that we're going to start with are just self-rising flour. Don't use the all-purpose plain. This is self-rising, and that's what you want. Has your rising ingredients with it. And then we're going to use some heavy cream. And with just those 2 ingredients, you've basically got all the elements that you need for biscuits. So let's go ahead and measure out our flour. We want 2 cups. And just like with flour, we don't want to pack it. So I'm going to measure it just like this, loosely into my measuring cup. And then once it gets full, I'm just going to turn my spoon around, kind of flatten that top out. So there's 1 cup. And then we're going to do a 2nd cup just that way. And that's all we need is 2 cups for this recipe. Okay. There we go. 2 cups of self-rising flour. And then we're going to take our heavy cream, and we want 1.5 cups of this. And what this basically does is this gives you your wet element that you would have in either milk or buttermilk for biscuits, but it also gives you the fat element that you would have if you used either butter or shortening in your biscuits. So you're basically replacing both of those with just this 1 ingredient, just like this. And so now we're just going to give it a quick, simple mix. And just like with any biscuit recipe, we want to mix it only until it comes together. Do not overwork it. Do not overmix it. So I'm just going to loosely bring it together. See, I'm kind of turning my bowl, just kind of mixing it all around, and we're almost there. Just as quickly as that. Just want to kind of get those dry parts, make sure that they've got some of that liquid with them. And I think at this point, it looks good. So just like that, you've got your biscuit dough mixed up. So now, what we will do at this point is just take a little bit of this same self-rising flour and just sprinkle it around on our surface. I'm just using my countertop, which is clean, but you can use a tea towel for this, or maybe you have another kind of parchment paper or something you like to do it with. Anything like that is fine. Just going to get all of our biscuit dough together, and then I'm going to take a little bit of flour and sprinkle on the top. And then I'm going to follow the same rule, not to overmix it or overwork it. I'm going to flatten it down to maybe 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And I'm just going to fold it a few times. That's going to kind of help create maybe a few layers in our biscuits. But I don't want it to be too much working of the dough. And just be mindful if it feels a little sticky, either on the top or the bottom as you do this, just go back. I'm going to pick it up now and sprinkle a little more flour under it just to be sure it's not going to stick, because we're almost getting to the point that I'm going to just turn it one more time, and then we're going to cut some biscuits out. Okay? And notice we don't even use a rolling pin. You don't need one. You just need a bowl and a spoon to mix it. And you really just need your hands to fold it and get it ready. And then once it's at the desired thickness, mine is probably, I'm guessing 3/4 of an inch. You can do yours a little flatter or a little taller if you want. And I dipped my biscuit cutter in the flour just to be sure it's not going to stick. And if you notice, see, I can see that we've got some layers going on there. That's why we did those few turns. And today, sometimes I use my iron skillet when I do biscuits. I did that on my other biscuit recipe, and I love doing it that way. But I wanted to show you an alternative. These do very well if you just use any kind of baking sheet. Look at those layers. Ew, those are going to be good, I can tell. So I'm going to use just a baking sheet, and I have lined it with parchment paper. And as I'm cutting the biscuits, you'll notice I'm not twisting and turning them. I just push straight down. And that helps it to be able to bake light and fluffy and tall. So I'm just going to keep cutting out as many biscuits as I can get from this dough. Okay, we've got 6 biscuits. I've got a little bit left, so I'm going to bring it together. And I'm going to try to get a couple more biscuits out of it. But again, I'm going to try not to work it very much, if at all possible. So I'm going to try to get it in an oblong shape where I can just maybe get a couple of biscuits from it. Okay, about like that. There's one. And then the last little bit, just going to kind of bring it together by itself. It may not be quite as pretty as the others, but that's okay. We want it to be a similar size so that they'll all bake fairly evenly. And I can even kind of put it in my biscuit cutter, and that'll help it to be pretty round around the edge. There you go. And that may be a little bit taller than the others, but it's close enough that it'll be fine. And like with my other biscuits, I want to put them fairly close together. I'm leaving just a small space between each one because I want most of the rising to go upwards, but they are going to spread just a little bit outward, so I want to leave just enough space for that to happen here. Okay, now that I've got that done, we're going to put them in the oven, and these cook at a very high temperature. I've got my oven set to 500 degrees, and it's already heated up, and we're going to pop them in. They probably are only going to need about 10 minutes. So come back with me in 10 minutes and see how they look. Okay, our biscuits are ready. Oh, they look perfect. Okay, you can tell the one that we did at the end that had been worked a little more and kind of turned over, you know, to try to fold it onto itself. So that one's not as pretty like I knew it wouldn't be, but the rest of them, they did turn out pretty. Look at that. Perfectly golden brown. Looks like they're light and fluffy, just the way we wanted. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're just going to brush the tops of them with a little bit of butter. So I've got some butter melted here. And you don't need too much at this point, just enough. Just give them a light coat. Just like this. Don't these look good? Can't wait to give one a try. All right, now I'm going to give one a taste. Let me get this one right here. And I'm just going to kind of split it open. Look at those good layers. You see that? That's why we folded it over just a few times. And so what I'm going to put on my biscuit today, I have some good local honey. So I'm going to brush the inside with just a little bit of butter. Still got this melted butter. I'll just use it up. And then I'm going to put a little bit of honey on it. That's going to be delicious. There we go. Okay, let's give our biscuits a taste. See how they turned out. This is the true test. Still really hot. They're so light and fluffy. You know, there are two reasons why they turn out this way. The first reason is because we did not overwork them. That's a big thing. That will kind of dry out your biscuits, make them harder and tougher. We didn't do that. So that helps make them light and fluffy. And then the second reason is because we baked them at such a high temperature. Remember, we put it at 500 degrees. And I left these in for 1 extra minute, so they cooked for 11 minutes. And you just judge your oven. Anywhere from 10 to 12 minutes is probably what you'll need, depending on how your oven cooks things. But cooking them at a high temperature so that they rise and cook quickly does not give them time to dry out. So it just makes them turn out really light and fluffy. They're really delicious. I hope you'll give these a try. They're so simple and I mean so quick. You know, you put them together in no time at all, and then it doesn't take them long to bake. I got to have another bite of this. That's delicious. Really good. I hope you've enjoyed this episode today, and I hope you'll give these a try. If you like them, hit like and subscribe, and come and see more content that we're always putting out. Thank you so much for joining me today at Mary Katherine's table. I'm really glad you were here. And remember, find someone today who needs a little bit of kindness and give them some of yours.